access arm. It's locked in. They continue to do the operations which are in their schedule for a launch scrub, moving through those methodically. The report out that we heard by the CGLS was that at the time of the scrub, when the hold was listed, it didn't appear to load into the proper configuration. ULA will work to try to understand the cause behind that. They don't know that at this time. They'll be studying the data. NASA's commercial crew team will be right there with them, helping and assisting throughout this process. So we can see on the views here inside Hangar AE that they have the crew access arm back locked into the Starliner. You can see that on your screen there. Essentially the team now working just to recap, if you're just joining us at 12:21 p.m. Eastern Time, T-minus 3 minutes and 50 seconds until liftoff. A hold was given by the ULA launch team, an automatic hold that was issued by the ground launch sequencer, the computer that takes over terminal count. The reason for that hold is not known at this time. The focus now by the launch team is to make sure the rocket is in a good and safe configuration. That's many of the calls that you're hearing out. And also that they, once it is safe enough, that they get the crew of Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, have them exit the spacecraft, come back down the elevators, and head back to crew quarters. I want to bring in United Launch Alliance commentator Dylan Rice.
System stable.
Pneumatic.
Thanks,
And yeah, Daryl, the team continues to work through the process to establish a stable configuration so that we can start pulling the crew off of the Starliner capsule. Still no update yet in terms of what caused the ground launch sequencer abort, but just like loading the crew, we establish a safe and stable configuration with the launch vehicle before we begin the egress process, and the configurations are very, very close to the same actually. We'll be maintaining the propellant systems in a topping mode and not changing the state of the Atlas or Centaur as we go through the approximate 1 hour process of egressing Butch and Sonny from the Starliner capsule. But teams are continuing to evaluate the data and look into the cause of the ground launch sequencer abort. In the meantime, we will start to see indications that the team is re-entering the pad. And in fact, the direction was just given to allow the blue team back into the pad. So we will start to see that activity now, and teams come back into the pad, back up the tower, and begin the process of opening up Starliner and egressing Butch and Sonny.
Yeah, so that's a good sign there. You mentioned with the blue team coming back to the pad, they are the ones that will pull the crew out of Starliner. We heard that the pad area is cleared for them to come in. It's a good sign. Dylan, what's your time estimation on the team going through the rest of their procedures to make sure that the crew can go ahead and get up the elevator?
Actually, I think that we're there. So it's been just about 20 minutes since the hold was called, and in that 20 minutes time, we've established those configurations. In fact, we don't even let the pad team come back through the fence line until those safe and stable configurations have been established. So. Once the team will of course be standing by at the fallback area, and they were contacted via radio and told to proceed back to the gate, and they will proceed through the gate and right back up to the crew access tower and on up to level 12 where they can begin configuring the white room. So we are there at this point in terms of being ready to redeploy the environmental seal, which kind of encloses the Starliner door into the white room, and then we'll begin opening up Starliner so that we can egress Butch and Sonny.
Yeah, we can see from this shot here that environmental seal is not on. Of course, this is the configuration right before you move the crew access arm either away or back to the capsule. So you can see the open air between the white room and the crew capsule. That will take the blue team, of course, getting up to the white room to put that environmental seal in place, which they are on the way. I'm monitoring some of the camera feeds. They haven't arrived yet, but they are on their way, as we've heard from the loops. Dylan, just give us an idea of the role the ground launch sequencer plays in the final 10 minutes of terminal count.
So essentially, the launch sequencer is performing all the actions that are occurring during the terminal count. So you will hear our operators provide status throughout the terminal count, but those operators are not actually performing manual actions. They're just reporting on the actions of the ground launch sequencer. So for instance, the vehicle propellant tanks will transition from a topping mode into a pressurization mode as they are pressurized to their flight pressure. Once the tanks are pressurized, we'll start to configure the avionics systems as well for launch, and ultimately hand over to from the ground computer to the flight computer, which handles the actual final seconds of the countdown prior to liftoff. But the ground launch sequencer is securing propellant topping. It's beginning the process of pressurizing the vehicle for flight. It will be transitioning the vehicle from the ground electrical systems to the onboard batteries, and enabling the ordnance systems, ultimately leading to the engine ignition sequence once the control has been handed over from the ground computer over to the flight computers.
And you've mentioned just some of the things that GLS does, right? It is a very busy computer in the final 10 minutes, as you mentioned, going through all of these very timely high energy systems that are being configured at the last in the last minutes before liftoff. To recap, if you're just joining us, the mission, the NASA Boeing's crew flight test of the Boeing Starliner was scrubbed at 12:21 p.m. Eastern Time when a hold was issued by the ground launch sequencer for the Atlas V rocket. It was at T-minus 3 minutes and 50 seconds, just a little less than 4 minutes before liftoff when that abort was called. The crew of Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, who are inside the capsule at the top of this rocket, as you can see here, are safe and are awaiting. There you see a shot of them. There's Sonny on the left and Butch on the right. They are awaiting the arrival of the blue team to come out to the launch pad and help them egress, which essentially means get out of the Starliner capsule and head back to crew quarters. It's a process that requires that team to do some manual work to lock in the crew access arm to the Starliner capsule. And so they will wait for those moments to arrive. And if we've got Lauren Brennicky on, our PAO with the Boeing team. Okay, we just heard a call that the blue team is entering the pad, and I can see them on the closed circuit television. They are in their van, as you can see there, the shot there, arriving back. This is the team that will head back up the launch tower and up into the White Room. They will secure the crew access arm to Boeing Starliner, open up the hatch, and get the astronauts out. Just prior to this, 20, 30 minutes or so, we've been listening to the ULA team safe the Atlas V vehicle, basically going through a number of steps to make sure that the tanks for the liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, the RP-1 propellant, make sure everything is in a safe configuration before they allowed this crew to get on the pad. And you see the van there with the 321 backing up to the launch tower. Lauren, I want to ask you about, you've spent a lot of time studying the procedures for Starliner. Talk a little bit about the egress and this process that we're getting ready to undergo.
Yeah, Daryl, a lot of what they'll be doing is really what we've watched during this countdown, just in reverse. I'm listening on some of the side channels to the teams talking about going through their checklist, and this is something that we've practiced many, many times in the simulator, and the teams follow along during those sims where a scrub is often the case in some of the different sim scenarios they put together. And so they will go through this checklist that they know very well, where they will go through, but astronauts who are